10-year-old Leo stared at the blank piece of paper in front of him, his pencil tapping rhythmically against his desk. The assignment was simple. What do you want to achieve in life? But the answer felt impossibly complex. His gaze drifted to his bedroom window, where Mount Pinnacle loomed in the distance. The mountain had always fascinated Leo, so tall it seemed to touch the clouds, with a peak that glowed orange in the setting sun. Local legend said that whoever reached the summit would find clarity and purpose. "I want to climb Mount Pinnacle," Leo wrote finally, the words appearing before he'd even realized what he was doing. The next morning at school, when Miss Rodriguez asked students to share their goals, Leo hesitated. Jimmy wanted to be a famous basketball player. Sophia planned to become a scientist who cured diseases. And Leo, he wanted to climb a mountain that many adults in town considered too dangerous. "I want to climb Mount Pinnacle," he said quietly, his voice barely carrying across the classroom. Ms. Rodriguez raised her eyebrows. "That's quite ambitious, Leo. Mount Pinnacle is challenging even for experienced climbers." A few classmates snickered. Jimmy whispered loudly, "My dad says only fools try to climb that mountain." Leo's cheeks burned, but something inside him hardened with resolve. That afternoon, instead of taking the bus home, he walked to the local library. He found books about mountain climbing, about Mount Pinnacle specifically, about preparation and equipment and technique. He took notes until his hand cramped. That evening, when his mother asked about school, Leo told her about his goal. "Mount Pinnacle," she repeated, looking concerned. "Leo, that's not a beginner's climb." "I know," Leo said. "That's why I'm going to train. I have a plan." Leo's plan began the next day. Each morning before school, he ran laps around the neighborhood, gradually increasing the distance. After school, he did push-ups and squats to build strength. On weekends, he hiked smaller trails near their house, teaching himself to read the terrain and test his endurance. The training wasn't easy. Leo's feet developed blisters, his muscles ached, and sometimes he felt overwhelmed by the challenge ahead. But he persisted, treating each discomfort as a lesson that would prepare him for the mountain. His classmates' initial amusement turned to curiosity as weeks passed, and Leo remained dedicated. Even Jimmy stopped making jokes when he saw Leo running in the rain one morning, utterly focused. Sometimes, Leo would stand at the base of Mount Pinnacle after school, looking up at its imposing height, both intimidated and inspired by what lay ahead. 3 months into his training, Leo's mom introduced him to Mr. Chen, who had actually summited Mount Pinnacle twice. Mr. Chen was impressed by Leo's dedication, but frank about the challenges. "The mountain doesn't care how badly you want to reach the top," Mr. Chen told him. "It demands respect and preparation. Are you willing to learn what that means?" Leo nodded earnestly, and Mr. Chen became his mentor. He taught Leo about proper equipment, how to read weather patterns, and techniques for navigating difficult terrain. Most importantly, he taught Leo about patience. Mr. Chen took Leo to a climbing gym where experienced climbers practiced their craft. Leo watched, mesmerized by their fluid movements and problem-solving skills. His own first attempts were awkward and frustrating, but with practice, he improved dramatically. "Mountains teach us that achievement isn't just about reaching destinations," Mr. Chen explained. "It's about becoming the kind of person who can make the journey." By the time spring arrived, Leo had transformed. His legs were stronger, his knowledge deeper, and his determination unshakable. When Mr. Chen finally declared him ready for a guided climb of Mount Pinnacle's easier south face, Leo could hardly sleep with excitement. In the weeks leading up to the climb, Leo studied maps, practiced with equipment, and perfected his technique. Each day brought him closer to being ready. The night before the big climb, Leo carefully packed his backpack, checking each item against the list Mr. Chen had helped him create. His heart raced with anticipation. His bedroom walls, once covered with random posters, now showcased photos of smaller climbs he'd completed during training, creating a visual diary of his journey so far. The morning of the climb was clear and cool. Leo's mother hugged him tightly before he joined Mr. Chen at the trailhead. "The mountain will present challenges we can't predict," Mr. Chen warned as they began. "Remember your training, stay present, and listen to what the mountain tells you." Leo and Mr. Chen started their ascent just as dawn was breaking, their small figures dwarfed by the mountain's massive silhouette against the brightening sky. The first 2 hours went smoothly. Leo matched Mr. Chen's steady pace, carefully placing his feet on the increasingly steep trail. But as they climbed higher, the temperature dropped and clouds gathered around the peak. "We may need to turn back," Mr. Chen said, studying the darkening sky. Weather on mountains can change quickly. Leo felt a stab of disappointment. After all his training and preparation, would he have to give up? He looked longingly toward the summit, visible through breaks in the clouds, then back at the darkening sky. "Is it dangerous to continue?" he asked, remembering Mr. Chen's lessons on respecting the mountain. "It could become dangerous," Mr. Chen replied. "The question is whether we turn back now while it's still a choice, or continue until we have no choice." Leo studied the mountain and the approaching storm. Slowly, realization dawned in his eyes. Sometimes wisdom meant knowing when to stop. "We should turn back," he said. "The mountain will still be here another day." A smile spread across Mr. Chen's face. "That," he said, "is the most important lesson the mountain teaches. True achievement isn't stubbornness, it's wisdom, knowing when to persist and when to adapt." Their descent was careful, but quicker than the climb. The rocks were becoming slippery as the first raindrops began to fall. As they reached lower elevation, lightning struck near the peak they'd been heading toward, confirming the wisdom of their decision. As they reached the trailhead, thunder rumbled and rain began to fall heavily. Leo's classmates, who had gathered to see his return, cheered despite the weather and despite him not reaching the summit. Jimmy led the cheer, genuine respect now visible in his expression. That evening, Leo's mother found him at his desk, writing in his journal, the storm still visible through his window, with occasional flashes of lightning illuminating Mount Pinnacle. "Are you disappointed?" she asked gently, sitting beside him on his bed among scattered climbing gear. Leo considered the question carefully. "A little," he admitted. "But Mr. Chen says there's no shame in making smart decisions. We're going to try again when conditions are better." His mother smiled. "You know, Leo, you set out to climb a mountain, but I think you've achieved something even greater." "What's that?" Leo asked. "You've learned how achievement really works," she said. "It's not about conquering or forcing. It's about preparation, respect, perseverance, and sometimes patience." Leo didn't abandon his goal. Through changing seasons, winter snow, spring rain, and finally early summer sunshine, he continued his training, growing stronger and more skilled with each passing week. 2 months later, when summer arrived with clear skies and warm breezes, Leo and Mr. Chen made another attempt. The morning was perfect, the mountain clear against a brilliant blue sky, as they checked their gear one final time before setting out. This time, their climb presented different challenges: a steep section that tested Leo's strength, a tricky traverse that required perfect balance, a moment when they needed to share water as Leo's supply ran low. Through each obstacle, they worked as a team, Leo applying all he had learned. There was one point when Leo faced a particularly difficult passage that seemed beyond his abilities. He paused, breathing deeply, then remembered all his training and found an inner strength he didn't know he possessed. With careful movements, he overcame what had seemed impossible moments before. After 6 hours of climbing, Leo stood at the summit of Mount Pinnacle, looking out over his town spread like a miniature model below. The view was even more magnificent than he had imagined. Stretching for miles in every direction, he raised his arms in triumph, feeling the cool breeze and warm sun on his face. "How does it feel?" Mr. Chen asked, standing beside him. Leo thought about his journey, the training, the setbacks, the determination, and the wisdom he'd gained along the way. "It feels like the beginning," he said finally. "Like now I know how to achieve anything." Mr. Chen nodded approvingly. "The mountain isn't just out there," he said, pointing to the peak beneath their feet. "The real mountain is within you, and that's the one you've truly climbed." Back home, Leo placed a framed photo of himself at the summit on his desk. As he looked at it, he caught his reflection in his bedroom mirror. Not just taller and stronger, but more confident, more purposeful. Through his window, Mount Pinnacle stood as majestic as ever, no longer an impossible dream, but a symbol of what he could achieve with determination, wisdom, and heart. If Leo's journey inspired you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of courage, growth, and adventure.